Have you ever wondered why ancient tribes lived among tigers without being afraid? What was it about their way of life that let them stand calmly in the face of such powerful, ferocious animals? Why didn't they run away, build walls, or try to kill the tigers? If you've ever been captivated by stories of ancient wisdom, then keep listening, because the answer lies in a different perspective. A perspective that has the power to change how we interact with the world around us. Now, right at the start, I want to say this. It wasn't that the ancient tribes were magically immune to fear. No, they felt fear just like us. In fact, there are stories and evidence that show they had a deep respect and understanding of the dangers that tigers posed. Their bravery wasn't about not feeling fear, but about doing something else. Something that I think we can all learn from. Imagine this. The jungle echoed with the growl of tigers. Their eyes glowed through thick foliage, their footsteps silent as ghosts. But the ancient tribes didn't run, didn't scream, climb trees, or beg the gods for protection. They stood still, barefoot, spearless, calm. Not because they were stronger than tigers, not because they had magic shields, not because they had bigger weapons, but simply because they understood something that we seem to have forgotten. A tiger's growl rumbled in the dense green, echoing the heartbeat of the jungle itself. It was a sound that would make even the bravest heart skip a beat. The big cat was a master of its domain. Its every move was poetry in motion, graceful, powerful, and dangerous. It was a creature that commanded respect and instilled fear. In our modern world, we often look for shortcuts, quick solutions, and instant gratification. But the path to understanding the tiger's wisdom is one that demands patience and presence. We can't rush it, hoping to capture its essence in a few moments or a superficial encounter. Now you might be thinking, okay, I get it. Be calm and the tigers won't attack. Well, it's not that simple. You're missing the deeper point. The ancient tribes didn't just want to survive in the jungle. They wanted to live with the jungle. They saw the tiger not as an isolated beast, but as a reflection of the jungle's will, a manifestation of its laws. They recognized that tigers, like all living beings, were driven by instincts, hunger, and the need for survival. These tribes didn't see tigers as monsters out to hate or destroy. They were keen observers. They watched tigers hunt, noting their patience, skill, and strategy. They noticed how tigers chose their prey, how they stalked, how they pounced. It was a study in efficiency and natural grace. But here's the key thing. Just as we compare notes with friends after watching a movie, the tribes discussed and debated what they saw. They shared stories, comparing notes, and piecing together the puzzle of the tiger's behavior. This wasn't just idle chatter, it was a form of collective learning. Over generations, they created a detailed picture of how the jungle worked, how its inhabitants behaved, including the tigers. They developed a deep understanding of the rhythms of the jungle. They knew when and where to find food, how to read the signs of the weather, and most importantly, how to coexist with the tigers. They learned to anticipate the tiger's actions, to predict its moves based on the rustle of leaves, the snap of a twig, or the shift in the wind. This knowledge wasn't passed down through written books, but through oral stories, songs, and rituals. It was embedded in their culture, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. It's like having a friend who always gives you the inside scoop, someone who helps you navigate the twists and turns of life. But instead of a friend, it was the accumulated wisdom of their ancestors, a wealth of knowledge gained over countless years of living in harmony with the jungle. It was a living library of practical advice and hard-won lessons. When a young boy listened intently to tales of tigers, he wasn't just hearing stories, he was absorbing a way of life. When a young girl watched her mother gather herbs, she wasn't just observing chores. She was learning about the healing power of plants. When a young man went hunting with his father, he wasn't just tagging along, he was learning the skills that could mean the difference between life and death. But how exactly did they put this knowledge into practice? Let's take a closer look at how the ancient tribes interacted with tigers in their everyday lives. Picture this. You're in the heart of the jungle, surrounded by tall trees that seem to touch the sky and thick undergrowth that hides unseen creatures. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and exotic flowers. Suddenly you hear it, a low growl that seems to rumble in your chest. A tiger has been stalking you. It's close enough for you to see its muscles ripple beneath its orange and black striped fur. Its eyes, like golden coins, gleam with both power and caution. What do? Fight, flight, or freeze? Well, the ancient tribes had none of those options. They had something much more nuanced: respect. They knew that tigers weren't mindless killing machines. They were intelligent, self-aware beings trying to live their lives just like us. Now, that doesn't mean they weren't cautious. Of course they were. They didn't walk into tiger territory blindly. They carried sticks to make noise, sang while they worked, and never approached waterholes without preparation. They understood that tigers like to drink, swim, and hunt near water. And they didn't want to surprise a tiger, especially one that was hungry. Imagine you're walking through the jungle and you hear a bird suddenly fly up from a tree, flapping its wings loudly, or a frog leap from a branch. It's croaking loudly, or a monkey chatter and run up a tree. You'd probably notice these sounds, but you might not think much about them. Oh, a bird flew up. Ah, a frog jumped. The monkeys are making noise. You might just keep walking like nothing happened. But the ancient tribes didn't just react to these sounds. They interpreted them as messages from the jungle itself. They knew that these animals weren't just making random noises. They were trying to tell them something important. They were communicating. For example, if a bird suddenly flies up from a tree and makes a loud flapping sound, the ancient tribes knew to pay attention to the tree. There might be a snake or a leopard hiding there. If a frog jumps from a branch and croaks loudly, they knew that the area might not be safe to walk through alone. If a monkey chatters and runs up a tree, they knew that there might be danger nearby. So instead of ignoring these sounds, the ancient tribes took action. They used sticks to knock on trees, make loud noises while gathering food, and walked with other people. By doing these things, they protected themselves from harm and showed respect to the animals around them. By paying attention to these details, the ancient tribes created a safety net of sorts, a way of reducing risks in a world where danger could lurk around any corner. They turned potential threats into opportunities for learning, turning every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, and every call of a bird into a piece of the jungle's story. Now, remember those stories I told you about earlier? The ones about the boy, the girl, and the young man? Well, those weren't just stories. They were a glimpse into the very essence of how ancient tribes functioned. They understood that each person, each member of the community, had a role to play in this intricate dance of survival. The boy who listened to tales of tigers wasn't just being entertained. He was being prepared. The girl who helped gather herbs wasn't just assisting. She was learning. The young man who went hunting wasn't just accompanying his father. He was being trained. This wasn't just about passing on practical skills. It was about instilling respect, understanding, and caution. It was a way of ensuring that each new generation was ready for the challenges of the jungle, equipped to face the dangers and appreciate the beauty of their natural surroundings. I'll leave you with this thought. In our world today, we often forget that we are not separate from nature. We are a part of it. The air we breathe, the water we drink, and the land we walk on are all gifts from the natural world. We have the power to understand and respect the natural world and live in harmony with it. Or we can choose to ignore this wisdom, to turn our backs on the lessons that nature has been teaching us for millennia. If you resonated with the lessons shared in this story, I invite you to dive deeper into the wisdom of ancient cultures. Your journey of rediscovering timeless wisdom awaits. Thank you for walking this path with me.